Welcome to the Lady NightHawk show, where we talk about interesting topics and we talk about interesting things. But today we're trying to keep it on a easy, lifting note today. So I have a special guest. Well, I mean, she's like a co-host, might as well say. But you know who she is, but I'm going to have her introduce herself to you.
I'm Mycah Chevalier, singer, songwriter, actor, and performance coach, and investigator. Got a whole bunch of things going on there.
I know that's right.
But,
yeah, and I thought that, I guess Tom must said everybody knows you, so he ain't put that tag underneath your name. I'm trying to figure out what.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
The
okay.
Creole, yes, and I'm known as the Creole butterfly.
Yes, because I made sure that I put that on there. It's part of your signature.
It's part of me.
Mm-hmm. Now give us the story behind that. That's something that's interesting for everybody.
So, I've always been taken with butterflies ever since I was a kid. But you know, when I first started on my musical journey, I asked a friend of mine to create a logo for me. I said I want it to be a butterfly. I said I want the body of the butterfly to be a microphone, and somehow I forgot what else I said to him. But he came up with this idea, and it was my eyes behind the image, and it was a butterfly, and the body was a microphone, and it had the cord going down like a tail, kind of, sort of. And I was like, wow. So I loved it. And then several years later, I wind up getting together with this. They were a group of lawyers, but they helped artists, not just singers, but actors. They had a lot of visual artists that they had, and it was a group of lawyers, and they actually helped people maintain their their legal rights to things and things like that. And so I worked with them for a minute, and intellectual property. And they did a revamp of my logo, and that's the same logo that I use today. Which is the purple, the blue and the purple, because those are my colors. And so everybody just started calling me the Creole butterfly. They know that my background is Creole, you know, on my mom's side, and I really wanted to. I made that a focal point of my first album, because I called my first album Rue's Fantasy, like Rue for gumbo. And so it just kind of fell naturally into place, and people just started calling me that. So, and I love it.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. And I mean, and it's something that's going to stick. You know, once they see you, it's going to stick with stick. So. And like I said, once again, you know, people that are so creative, you know, that God created the logo, and then you met some other folks, and they made sure that it was yours, that you didn't have to worry about somebody coming up and taking it away from you later on, you know. And a lot of people that are out here doing things that they don't realize that they need to take those steps to make sure that they are covered and nobody else can take their logo or take their trademark. And they need to
protect everything.
Yes.
Because these days people snatch stuff right up. It wasn't maybe a few years ago. I saw a very similar. You know how like Life Water has different like covers on their product. They had a butterfly on one of their bottles, and it looked very strikingly similar to my logo. And I was like, I put them side by side, and I was like, interesting. But you know, I was like, Life Water is a big company. It's not, you know.
Well, the thing is I think that if they make a slight variation to yours, then you can't.
Then
do anything.
A lot of times people get away with that.
Yeah.
They get away with it with music.
Yep.
And all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So just a slight, just something that is saying that no, well, you might have created it, but I got a feeling too.
Right.
I just thought I would elaborate on it, you know. And
if I told you half the stories I know, especially in the music world, about people taking songs and music and turning them into something, and it's sad state of affairs, but it's something that we all have to live with, because everybody has their own creativity, but
don't steal somebody else's though.
Exactly.
You know, but and the people that listen to those artists that do that, we realize what they've done. You know what I mean? You know, taking the music, but you change the words. Okay, it's the same song. Okay, but we're not supposed to know. You know, but we know we know people that are out there, and it's not right. It's not fair. Without, now, if they get publishing rights from you, then that's something different.
That's different,
you know,
because then you get something out of it. You get paid.
Yes.
You know, not getting paid enough, but you would get paid.
Right. Well, that's just like they're getting ready to put the program that the president was on, and he's going to get royalties once they're supposed to do 2 episodes of the. I'm not even going to say it, but they're supposed to do 2 episodes of the show that he was on, and they said that he's going to actually get royalties from it. And I didn't think that you could do that while you were the president of the United States.
Neither did I.
But yeah, so The Apprentice, that's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I guess because somebody else made a remake of it too. So I guess he wants to put the original back on, you know, put it back on there. I don't know what the reason is.
Well, I mean, that's understandable that he get royalties from that, but you know.
Yeah, but I just didn't think that you could do it while you were the president.
You know, it would stand to reason that he shouldn't, not while he's in office.
That's what I'm thinking.
If there were a way for them to hold his royalties until he finishes his, you know.
Well, maybe they'll do that. We don't know what it is. Maybe they're going to hold him until he finishes his term. You know, because we really don't know what the, what went behind the scenes.
Right.
But maybe he wants to correct the wrong or something, that he didn't like the way they did the remake.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he felt like, I don't know, I'm not in his head, but you know, maybe he feels like these other artists out here, that somebody takes this stuff and does something different with it, you know. And so, you know, it's just a shame that happens, you know. You know, I can go back as far as the Beatles, okay. I was young then, but I'm just saying the songs and stuff that they wrote, and when they broke up, and the songs and things that they individually wrote, and then later on somebody else went and started doing their remakes of their songs, you know. And because I was such a Beatle fan, I was young at the time, but I was such a Beatle fan. I said, now why do they think I don't know, you know, people that were really, really fans, because, you know, this whole country went crazy over them. And wouldn't know that that's their music. Somebody just changed the words, or you know, vice versa. You know what I mean? And I think that because whoever the one that sang the song or wrote the song had passed away, that they thought that it was okay. But I hope that the family, you know, took up and did something, because it's not right, guys. It's not right. You know, it really isn't. If you get permission from the person, then that's a different story.
That's one thing. Yeah.
People don't mind sharing, you know, but you just do it the right way. That's all I'm saying. You know.
One reason why whenever I do a remake of something, I make sure I get licensing, and you have to pay for it. You know, you pay for the licensing, and then you're able to, you know, record and put out the song, or you know, in the way that you would like. But it costs, and I've been doing that for umpteen years. But I make sure that I get that licensing and before I do anything, because I wouldn't want anyone else to do that to me. Right. And it's, you know, it's something that I guess it's like an unspoken type of thing in the music world. You really should do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's what we're reaching out to you today, that no matter what it is, I don't care whether it's writing a book, you know, writing a song, singing a song, whatever. Just you know, if it's somebody else's work and you just, you know, redoing it, just make sure that you reach out to them. You'd be surprised, because it's flattering. One thing that
it is flattering on one hand.
Yeah, if somebody comes to you and say, "Oh, you know, I saw your song, I heard your song, or you know, I read your book, or whatever, and I just want to know if I could use a little piece of it, or whatever." You know, I mean, that's flattering. I would think that for somebody to come.
That's why in school we learn how to cite our sources.
That's right. That's what we
That's
had
what
to
that's
do.
for.
That's what that's for. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. That's right. I remember that
English
class.
101.
Yes.
Cite your research.
That's
Cite your
right.
sources.
That's right. That's right. Your sources.
Give them
You gotta
credit
cite
where
'em.
credit is due.
That's right. And a lot of people still don't do it, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, but if you went to college, or you know, you went to a certain school, you in English, like you said, in English, in both places they told you that you had to do citations. You know?
Oh yes.
And you see how important that it is, because you need to give people credit where
Yeah.
credit is due. You know. So you are getting ready to connect with an artist for a workshop.
Yeah. So I'm going to the south of France in a couple of days, actually. A musician and artist by the name of Vinx is holding a he calls his creative boot camp. So it's basically a songwriter's workshop where we're all gonna, throughout the week, we're all gonna get together and create and work on music and how to create songs of different kinds. I'm totally excited, but I'm looking forward to it. And at the end of the week, we're gonna have a performance, and I haven't been to the south of France. I haven't been to France yet, so this is one from my bucket list. So I'm looking forward to going and having a good time
and also while you're there, since we're talking about it, ask them, are you going to tell them about citations? Since this is brought up.
Look, I know.
Workshop.
It's so funny because I know Vinx is, I'm sure he'll touch on that.
He's on point. I mean,
he's on point. He's very much on point.
But for God to put it in our spirit, I would just pull him aside. I would just pull him aside.
In fact, I believe he
got a whole session on it.
I believe he is a professor, or has been a professor at Berkeley.
Okay.
So he's very well educated in terms of
I know
everything.
he is. I know he is, but I was just saying that I hope that in the workshop that maybe he has, you know, a special class or something that he mentions it, because you know, sometimes you would think that the other artists that you are dealing with know that already, and some people don't know.
Some people don't know.
You know, they really don't. And so, I mean, you could pull him aside and talk to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's okay." Because I was on a TV show and we were just talking about it, and she said I should just make sure, so that he could get his royalties and you can get yours too.
Right.
Yeah, people hear about royalties, but some people just don't know what they are.
So royalties, just like residuals in TV, are is payment for your work. The more it gets played, the more you know. If you're on the song for publishing, writing, even performance, now you get performance royalties. And if you are a part of all three, then you get more money. So the key is, you know, the more you write for yourself and for other people, the more you'll make, because these days getting royalties is quite hard, because with all the streaming platforms, they're not doing a whole bunch of record sales or CD sales anymore. It's all streaming, and the margin for streaming is pennies on the dollar, like fractions of, I'm saying it wrong, fractions of a penny on the dollar. And so one of the things that we as musicians are trying to do, or have been trying to do, is getting them to raise that fee, so that we can make a living off of our stuff. Because unless you're you know, big time, it's very hard to get, you know, make a full living off of your music if your music is being nickel and dimed. When people stream it, you've got to have millions and millions of streams before you make any money. So, you know, I've been lucky in that I've been writing over the years, and not just for my own personal music, but for other people. I you know, do lyrics and melodies and stuff like that. So I'm on other people's work. And, you know, I get a check quarterly, you know, without having to do anything. But that's what we all, you know, now it might be able to pay a couple of bills, but I would like to, you know, be able to do more than that with it. And so one of the reasons for going to this workshop is so I can get my creative juices back up and running, and you know, see if I can get some more music running around in my head that I can get out.
And I know I said it in the last show, but this ring that you have on, you have to show them this ring, because this ring is just like, it is beautiful.
Thank you. It's, you know,
I mean all your jewelry that you have on is beautiful, but that one is just like, oh my God.
So I have, I didn't mention this last time, I have an affinity for circles. And I got this ring in Charlotte, North Carolina in the early 2000s.
And what's the stone in that?
Moonstone.
Okay.
And I got it at a metaphysical store. Went in the store with one of my band members, and she and I were, you know, just looking around, and I was actually looking for amethyst because it's purple and I love purple. So we were looking at stuff, and the lady in the store came up to me and she pulled this out of the tray from under the glass and was like, "This is for you."
Wow.
And then she said to me, she said, everything about you is cyclical. She said, you have that way about you. She said, you have that aura. And I was like, at the time I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, okay. You know, I was listening, I was, you know, and both myself and my bandmate, we were both into meditation. We were roommates on the road. And so I was just like, okay. So I was listening to her. So I wound up getting this ring. I did get an amethyst ring also, but that was also a circle. Everything I have, or most of the jewelry I have, is some type of sphere. And I thought that was funny.
That's pretty too. All the jewelry that
I
you have on
never
is
noticed
beautiful.
it until she brought it to my attention.
Okay.
And she said, that's something special about you. She said, not many people, you know.
Well, that's a complete,
Yeah.
it's complete. It's a circle, it's complete.
And she said that to me, and I was like, wow. I was like, that's why I like these things. Because I'm drawn to them. I just, like, I saw this and I was just like, ooh.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
And so
it really is. But all the jewelry that you have on is beautiful.
And I'm into natural stones. I like stuff from the earth, so to speak. I mean, this is onyx, so this is natural too. Everything that I've
where is natural?
And I've picked up most of my jewelry on my travels.
Okay.
So
I can understand
from
that.
all over the place.
And then, you know, you're not going to see it too many times.
Nope.
Yeah. So
a lot of stuff I have is one of a kind.
You know, and that makes a difference. You know, so I mean, I can tell.
Well, I, you know, it's so funny that this ring is so old. Like, because people think nobody can tell. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, because it is special, you know. I mean, I do. I got more jewelry that's in my jewelry box. This is you know, and I don't wear them a lot of times.
I don't either.
You know.
I tend to wear the same
piece all the time. And then I just, all of a sudden, I just stop. Like, I think I forgot to put earrings on today. I did. Okay. But, yeah, so you're complete. You're complete. That's what, you're whole. And I guess that's why people are drawn to you, because of that aura that you have, that that you give off to other people, you know.
Oh, see,
And that's why I adopted you as my daughter. Because
I like
your
to
spirit,
hear
but the
that.
whole, you know
That
what?
makes me
You
happy.
just can't understand about her family. I always talk about her family, because, you know, she's just one part. See, there you go. Your whole family is involved in that circle, and all of you have a piece of the pie that makes the other person whole. And that's what's so interesting, you know.
I have been so blessed to
Yes.
have, and it's a family full of, now we have, you know, we have very few men in the family at the moment, but it's a family full of women. I had 4 strong aunts, and my mother and my grandmother, and you know, that all helped to raise me. I was everybody's baby. I was the first. I was the first grandchild on both sides, my mom and my dad's side. And so it's funny because I went somewhere. I went to oddly enough, you know, it's supposed to be a somber event, but I went to a funeral, and I took my friend with me, and everybody that I introduced him to was like, she was my baby. And he was like, is everybody? I said, yes, I was everybody's baby.
Yeah.
I said, they would come and they would take me from my mother.
Right.
And they would just take me out or take me home, or, you know, I said, I had the most active social life of an infant / toddler that you ever want.
Right.
Like, I was everywhere with everybody.
Right.
And I was a happy kid.
Right.
So.
And your father was in the band. Tell us the name of the band your father was in.
Mycah. Mycah, and then at one point they called it Black Mycah.
Okay.
But yeah, the group was called Mycah. And they were all frat brothers from Morgan State. And my mom and I used to go where the band went.
Right.
They would travel, go to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, or here or there, and I was everywhere they went. And wound up in pictures of the bands and all the, you know. So I kind of grew up with the music itch.
And I said, this is,
so to
this
speak.
is your future husband, so I'm not going to say that name. But anyway, he is a well-known artist. He does a lot of things.
Well-known in the business, and
I put that out there. So if it happens, I was the one that said it first, okay? I said it first, okay?
And but it's so funny because I had a conversation with him yesterday. He's so low-key and so not, I said, do you realize how important that you are? And he was like, well, you know, he said, I was taught by somebody. I had people that I looked up to in the business. And so he said, I had people that I walked in the footsteps of. So I said, I said, I get that. I said, but a lot of people don't know really what you've done for us, for, you know,
in the music
in the music industry, and I said, they should know that. And he laughed it off.
And we're going to have him on here. When he get back. He's
we're going to have him on here. But he's just like so chill, laid back, you know, and a good person, you know. So, you know, you all are going to like each other.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm really excited that, you know, both of y'all to come on together, and what he does and what he has done.
He's got,
you know,
something really, really big that he's planning.
And so we want to make sure that he's on here. And I'm glad, but I told you, because you got a nephew that's a minister. Is it your nephew? Who is it? Cousin?
Oh, no, James Curtis. My cousin.
Your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Told you they do everything. Okay. Anyway, I told you, I said, when you get married, both of us got to stand up there and do a piece, and he do a piece, and I do a piece. You know, we had to figure it out, okay? Because you my daughter, okay? That's just, you know, we're going to figure it out, you know, when it works out.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe somebody do the wedding, and somebody does something at the reception. You know,
I'm
I
gonna see James Curtis tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him today too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I said, James Curtis, okay, Reverend Curtis, you know, it's Pastor Curtis, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many people that y'all have in your family that, and I just want to give a shout out to Aunt Judy always, and to Uncle Floyd, you know, and I'm glad that he's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that he made it in veterans before they start messing around with those benefits.
Yeah.
You know, and he's home now and he's being taken care of.
Yeah.
And so my prayers go out to her and him, you know, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's like she has a sixth sense or something, because she was trying so hard to try to get that stuff squared away from him, you know, when I was working at the store, right? And he didn't want to do it, you know, but she was persistent enough that she knew that it was important, you know, and him being a veteran, I mean, he's owed that, you know what I mean? All the veterans out here, they should not have their medical services
tampered
because they serve, you know, messed with, and their money and stuff, because they served our country. They gave their lives
is a veteran as well.
And my fathers and uncles, and you know, I got cousins that are female that were in the military, you know, and I just don't think that it's fair, because they gave up to serve, you know, to make sure that we have freedom, you know, we have a democracy, and to help other countries and things like that.
Exactly.
And they should not mess with it. They promised that they wouldn't mess with those. They
should be revered and treated.
They should. They really should.
The heroes that they are.
Because
all of them.
Yes, every last one of them, you know. And we have been, as a country, we have gone back to some of the veterans that are 100 and something years old, you know, and gave them their due respect, you know. And so to take that money away, or the benefits away, it's not right. But so we're going to pray, like I said, for our president of the United States, because we know he's going to do the right thing by everybody, okay? But with that, I'm so glad to have you here again. You have a wonderful trip. Be safe, and we look forward to you to come back. And when you come back, we're going to have your friend with you, okay? So, you know, I hope the weather is good and great.
Me too.
You know, and your flight is, may God bless the flight to and from, you know.
Thank you.
So with that, we want to say good night.
Good night.
And have a good time from the Lady NightHawk show. Okay, yeah.